Pandan Omanyala is synonymous with the Absa Kipkeino Classic. When you go back to when it first started, that was maybe when you were just starting to see this young speedster. And going into the 7th edition this past weekend, we did catch up with the man to find out how his journey is going on and how his journey has progressed. Now, Freddy, it's good to see you.
See you too.
It's been an interesting few weeks for you.
Yeah.
After all the travels of last year, it was good to see you go into Addis and do something special.
Yeah. Definitely, I was really excited, by the way, because I understand now how hard is it to get back the top. Because the last 20 months were crazy. There were hard months, and it was hard, like going off those tracks, knowing that your friends run the way you always run, and you pushing yourself, but that body is not just giving, so getting back to where I was the last 3 races actually, and just feeling how fast I'm moving and how bouncy I am. That was everything.
How tough was last year and last year but one for you?
Last year but one was good. We ran a couple of fast times. We just didn't click in the Olympics. But then last year, the hard one, because I didn't get to go under 10 seconds, not one. I was just at the age of 10:00. So it was a tough season, coming from a season that I ran even 12 sub 10s to now none. So that was hard mentally, especially. And then now coming to the physical part where I got an injury just 2 weeks before the World Championships, again, knocking me off so much. So last season was a test for me, mentally, physically, emotionally as well, and just really understand why am I doing this. So last season was tough.
You switched coaches.
Yeah.
You're back with your former coach. What made you decide to go back? People say you must never go back. You've gone back.
Yes, I went back then. There are things that were working then. I'm not saying that there are things that didn't work with team, because there was also some good times as well. But then it got to a point where I feel like there's something that he did that made me who I was, that it made me. So like, we've done 9-7, we've done a couple of 9-8. Let me just go back with three, but I was so angry. I was so hungry for even a 9 highs. I was like, yeah, let me just go back. At some point last season, I was like, I think it's almost time, I almost gave up. I was like, let me start figuring out of my egg plan. But then I just said that, let me just keep going and just keep getting better. And then, funny thing, the training sessions just started being lighter. And that's like 3 months into the season, we just started being lighter. And that was after the indoor upgrade. Because indoor was, again, a tough one.
Shall we say maybe it's a case of you going back to familiar territory, familiar things, familiar training patterns, familiar coach, familiar voice, the voice you always had in your ear? What makes such a big change between Kim and Dan?
I won't say boys and stuff, just the technical parts. There are things that were being for me in terms of training that's just to went back to that.
And what does it tell you now? First sub 10 coming in Addis, and then of course you run in Kipkeino. The World Relays are coming up.
Yeah.
How are you feeling when you look at all this?
Of course, first of all, appreciation to African organizers, because, Africa previously had like 1 or 2 meets, but now Ethiopia has been a record gold, and it's much easier to compete within Africa for the first part of the season because you don't have to travel much. It's easier, you don't have to get research and all that. You're just moving from one country to another. So it's a very good Africa tour for me, because actually after Kipkeino, I'm flying to Botswana. So again, it's not much, it's like on Sunday, but it's not much of travel. It's like we could be flying outside the continent. And this is just shaping up to be one of a memorable season for me, looking forward to it. And yeah, it's a stepping stone, building confidence back and getting me up there among the top 5 sprinters in the world here. Last for me.
What's your big goal? What's your main goal this year? We know it's a big year. There's no World Championships. There's the Ultimate. There's Commonwealth. What's Omanyala looking toward? What's your mountain top for the year?
I can say I've achieved it, because this season for me was a season of restoration.
Yeah.
And restoration to me was getting back to running fast times. And on my second race, I already went to the 10. So looking forward to the next 5 months. It's pretty low, but again, I've achieved what I wanted to achieve coming into this season. But again, now I'm hungry to achieve them also. Now I can open my eyes and giving me confidence that for sure you still have it. So now just go hard and just get under those 10 seconds. So the target will be just restoration. And there's a time back then I will rank number 1 in the 100 meter. So of course that's something that I'm putting inside as well.
You've spoken about starting to think of quitting or retiring, not quitting, retiring. What is the one thing that kept you going that made you think, hey, let me just hold on to it? Because you said you thought about it a lot last year.
I want to say that I'm doing this preparatory, and track has been like my therapy place. You know, every time I go to track, I get to get out of track feeling mentally stable and sometimes just solving a lot of things while I'm running. So that's one thing that I'm just doing. Like I'm just going to track to just reduce the stress because I just figured out, I was just thinking and that like, I don't think I'm going to get as fast as I was, but let me just go to track to just relieve the stress and just use it as therapy and just to enjoy running and just doing it for passion, nothing else. So that's every day going to training. And then at some point I was like, hey, I'm being better. You're training and you're feeling some niggles in your legs, so it's even worse. You haven't run well, you have an injury, you know, those are things that in mind I'm like, do I really need to continue to do this? But then I remembered why I started at well. It's an inspiration to this country, and there are so many people who believe in me. Sometimes I used to walk in the mall and someone stops you and says, we are really proud of what you're doing. And you're like, oh man. So those things, those kind of things really got me going. And then my manager was like, I need to fly out of the country and just come here. There's a lot of peace. So we went down to Cape Town, and the training camp there is what actually changed a lot of things, because go to train, go back and sleep. Go train, go back and sleep. So it was just pulling me out of the country where there's a lot of things happening and just taking me down to South to just train, and I came back.
Freddy, my final question to you is APSA Kipkeino Classic, 7th edition. This is what you have worked with your whole career. When you look at yourself today, I mean, the superstar that you are, everyone wants to talk to you, people are talking to you. What does it tell you when you remember how far, when you go back to sevens, when you go back to you being kicked off the 7th stage? What does it tell you? How do you, when you look at that journey, what does it tell you?
Just one thing, that anything can happen in life, and you can move from from grass to grace. Because at some point, 4, 5, 6 years ago, if I could have been told that this is your life in the next 6.5 or 7 years, I wouldn't accept that, because there's so much that has changed. And Kipkeino being my age mates, we've really grown together, and we've come to put this event in the local stage. And last year I saw the streams was so many, like people all over the world were watching this event. And like the first edition that happened at Nyayo Stadium, people really didn't understand what this meant. But then we took it to Kasarani, broke record, and now everybody wanted to come and see what is the Kipkeino Classic. So it's been growth for me, and I'm just amazed on how it's growing and inviting stars to come and compete here. And it's a motivation to our local axis as well, because they get to see these guys. They get to see these other people that we've been looking at on TV, and we were just normal guys. You know, we can hear them speak, we see them eat our food, and, you know, we can also do it. So,
but from a you point of view, when you look at yourself today and think back 7 years, can you even believe what's happened to you? Can you actually even sort of put it into context when you think about just how much your life has changed?
Now, of course, at some point I'm like, this is huge. And at some point I almost lost it because I've achieved everything. You know, I've gotten the medal, the Commonwealth medal. I've run the fastest time in Africa. In fact, the 4 or 5 fastest times in Africa mine. So I was like, man, you've done so much. And then at some point the motivation is just gone. You know, you just wake up and you don't really take serious your training sessions. And at some point I was like, I think it's given. Because every time I used to go on the blocks in Kenya, I go under 10. Anytime I used to go in Kenya and run, like I'm running under 10 seconds. At some point it was so obvious, you know. And then now it came all these changes, and then last season happened. I didn't even go under 10 in Kenya. So that reminded me that you are not given. You worked hard for these things that you have. So that was a realization that now made me now work so hard this season because I knew it's just not given that you can wake up and go and run fast. So looking back at those 7 years, there's a lot of things that have happened. It has shaped me to the man that I am today. It has given me status that I didn't really imagine I would get into, and go to a point that I'm just comfortable, man. I'm just like, I just now run because I'm not looking for anything. I'm just running because I love running.
The one thing we can all agree is that Ferdinand Omanyala looks a lot more relaxed, a lot more happier.
Yes.
Elijah. He just looks like he is back in his own element.
Yeah, and the results are showing. Yesterday, he had a wonderful race in Botswana, another season best, and that's what we want to see from Omanyala. And my takeaway from this particular interview, by the way, great interview with him, is the words that we say to our stars and to other people really matter. He remembered what Kenyans kept on telling him. You've done us proud. Keep on doing what you're doing. And that kept him going when he was on the low. So when you get an opportunity to just wish someone well and to thank them and be grateful, kindly do so. You never know how it can inspire them. And for him to just come out and accept and say, guys, I thought of retiring at some point, despite what he had achieved. He has made a nation believe that we are just not only long distance and middle distance runners, we are also sprinters. And there are more sprinters who are coming up. It's absolutely, we owe a debt of gratitude to this guy because he's done a lot for us and we wish him very well. And we wish him all the very best when he goes to the Commonwealth, to the World Relays this weekend and to the Commonwealth Games. We hope that he retains his title. He has another 4 years of claiming to be the Commonwealth champion. He's been absolutely phenomenal. And I like the way he just expresses himself with consummate ease. You know, he doesn't struggle at all. And he's not too afraid of saying and accepting, guys, I was lazy at some point, lazy. And I've really gotten to appreciate what I've done, and I'm going to put in the hard years in training and come back.
Well, what Elijah is speaking about there in a word is charisma. Omanyala just has great charisma. I hear young people call it great aura, but whatever it is, he does have it. Speaking of aura, our shot of the weekend is all about Kogalo